Alright guys, so welcome back to the channel. Today I'm filming my leg day for yourself, currently sitting at 13.5 weeks out. So first up we've got calves. To start we're doing 3 sets on the standing calf raise, and the reason I've kind of got this first is just because it means they're not getting neglected. So the closer to the start of the session a movement is, the more physical and mental energy you'll have. So if you struggle to train your calves, maybe consider placing it towards the start. You could argue there's a potential secondary benefit of if, let's say, you've got poor ankle mobility due to tightness in your calves, etc., and it's not like a structural issue or just how you're built, in other words, then placing it at the start could help your ability to get your knee over your toe and your ability to get more out of your quad movement. So that's something to consider. However, potential downside of it is if you're doing like a free weight squat, if your calves are absolutely wrecked, and same with the rest of your legs, you're going to have a bit less stability. So bear that in mind and decide where you want to place your calves in your session accordingly. So next up with the adductor machine, what I'm pretty much cueing here is just driving my knees in and pulling down on the handles to create stability. The more stable we are, the more force we can produce. In other words, the more we can lift. So we want to create as much stability as possible during our exercises, especially when body weight drops, because when your body weight drops, you become kind of less stable. So there I've got a rest pause set, which is basically 3 sets, 30 seconds rest in between each, and I'm progressing up in weight as I get to 30 reps in the 3 sets total. And you'll notice like I've progressed that by literally just 1.25. Seems very small, but like all the wee progressions do add up. And also like I'd rather add like a smaller progression than chuck a 10 on or a 5 on, or like a large bit of weight, because how well are you going to stay accurate with your form if you're taking massive jumps in weight on pieces of kit? And especially when I'm dieting, like I'm not going to be taking crazy progression, so I'd rather just kind of creep it up slowly, remain accurate with my form, and as a whole get a better stimulus from the set as a result of that. So we're now on to the leg extension, and here I've got one set 12 to 15 and one set 8 to 10. So something I think very valuable is not being attached to a certain way of doing things, certain rep ranges. It's very popular to have like a top set, back off set approach, whereas not all exercises suit that. Sometimes your knees won't feel great and you might want to do a higher rep set first. So don't limit yourself to certain rep ranges, certain amounts of volume per session. For example, a top set, back off set approach, meaning doing like a heavy set then a lighter set, might apply well to certain movement, whereas bicep work, do you really need to do that? Probably not. And with leg extension, something massive is not throwing or catching the weight. So what we want to do is we want to extend our legs and pause at the fully shortened position or the top. We don't want to kind of throw it up and then see the weight drop and then hold it. We want to pause it in that fully shortened position. If you're finding you can't hold it at that fully top position, you're using a weight you can use during the bottom half of the movement, but not the top half of the movement. So what I'd recommend is focus on dragging it up instead, and make sure you hold it in that position instead of just like throwing and catching it. You're going to get more out your quads and it's going to be a lot more knee friendly. So as for the next movement, it's a seated hamstring curl, and here I've basically done the stack plus 10 and stack plus 5 for my 2 sets, one lower rep set, one high rep set. Actually the first time using it in a while, because I usually use another hamstring curl, but it's out of order at the moment. And here, what's something massive is making sure your legs are clamped down as hard as you possibly can. You basically want it as tight as possible, just again to keep you locked in. Going back to the more stable we are, the more we can lift. As well as that, when I'm performing it, I'm just cueing, driving my heels back and down. And you want to make sure your whole upper body remains still. If you're moving at the hips, if you're arching your back at all, you're actually changing the length of the hamstring. So you want to keep all that locked in. A good rule to stand by: if you're not trying to use something, don't move it. Meaning, if I'm not trying to train my back, then I shouldn't be moving my back when I'm doing like a seated hamstring curl, for example, or a lying one in that matter of fact. Easy. Easy, come on. Come on. So next up, squat pattern is the true squat, which is a machine I really get on with. For me, it's really joint friendly. I feel really stable and locked in, and I can get a lot out of it. And match reps on my set, as you probably will see or have seen by the last rep, it was pretty difficult. Like there wasn't any more reps left after that, put it that way. And I think when you are dieting, it's not a case of retention's not there or progressions aren't there. You just have to kind of find it. Meaning, you can't just kind of pick your nose, so look at your phone, text someone, and then go straight into your set. Like, take a minute, get yourself ready for your set, think about whatever kind of fuels you, fire you up, if that's positive or negative, but take a minute and kind of get yourself in that headspace to perform. Because I think a lot of people, they'll not take their set seriously enough. It sounds cringy, but I think it's true. Like, if you want to maximise your physique development, you can't just kind of, when you're in like a aggressive dieting phase or getting really lean, you can't just go into your sets without really trying to get yourself in the zone, mate. So make sure you kind of do so, and your performance will thank you. Come on. Easy. Come on. Fuck yes. So next up, after leg press, I've got the single leg press. Quite convenient, kind of just jumping onto it single leg. Maybe not convenient for folk waiting, but I don't take that long, to be fair. And with the, like, why do single leg work? Why do unilateral work when it comes to leg training or any body part? So you can potentially recruit more muscle fibres just because you're not having to focus on using both sides at once. There's less kind of work your central nervous system has to do, if that makes sense. And as well as that, when you're doing like single leg work, it can help with potential imbalances in your physique. And there I've just got one set paused. I've got one set on all my compound movements. Reason being is that's kind of all I need. My legs are sore like the day after training them. They're just recovered in time for when I next train them. And as well as that, like I'm in prep, so like I'm not trying to push volume super high because my recovery capabilities are lower. Just with being on less food, more expenditure, being leaner, I can't recover from quite as much. And there's no real benefit on doing a ton of work, if that makes sense, like pushing the volume to the limit, because realistically I'm not going to be building much muscle at this stage. I'm like 168 pounds, so what's extra work, what's doing high intensity techniques going to really contribute to? Fatigue, because it's not allowing me to build tissue. So where is the benefit of incorporating it? Nowhere really. And next up, we've got the ab crunch machine. And when it comes to ab training or training, pretty much any ab movement really, what we want to think about isn't just getting from the start to the end of the movement, meaning we're not just trying to get from A to B, we're trying to get from A to B and train the abs for a full range of motion, which means we want to arch our back at the top slightly and then flex your spine at the bottom. Basically, you want to go for as much flexion and extension as possible because that's the role of the abs, to flex and extend the spine. So make sure when you're performing it, your back shouldn't be straight the whole time. It should be arched at the top, flexed at the bottom. You're not just wanting to move at the hips. If you are, you're going to be more likely to use your hip flexors. Alright guys, so that is legs boxed off. Sorry if the camera goes absolutely flying, but let's hope it stays in the same place. I doubt it, but yeah, really good session. Something to bear in mind is like when you are getting into a dieting phase, like, or for myself anyway, my perception of what a good session is changes. And what I mean by that is, I'm not going to be taking the same progressions as if I'm like deep in a gaining phase. I've got a ton of food. So you can compare the two. If you do, you're just going to get disheartened and start having a lack of enjoyment for training. So you need to shift your view on what a win is. So for myself right now, a win is retaining numbers. A really good win's progressing, depending on the movement, of course. Whereas when I'm, let's say, in a gaining phase, if I'm matching numbers on a weekly basis, that's kind of more of a loss, if that makes sense. So I'll put a physique update over the video just so you can see where I'm currently at. But I'm currently, I think, 13.5 weeks out, bodyweight sitting 168 pounds this morning. Had a food drop on Sunday just because bodyweight wasn't really moving much, and now it's just gradually dropping. So we've been nice and responsive to the food change. Feeling pretty good, energy's not bad. Like, obviously I've got the periods where I'm low energy, but when your energy is low in a dieting phase, like not telling yourself that, like not waking up thinking, oh, I'm tired, I'm not going to perform, oh, it's going to be a shit session, like almost like convincing yourself, I'm fine. Like whenever someone asks me how I'm doing, I won't say, oh, I'm knackered, I'm really tired. I'll say, I'm all right or that, but like I'm telling myself I'm fine, because I think how you perceive yourself feeling mentally makes a big difference. If you tell yourself you're going to feel tired, you're going to feel shit, you probably will be. So yeah, thank you very much everyone watching. Really appreciate the support as always. Let me know what other content you'd like to see throughout this prep series. And if you did enjoy it, share it on your story. I'd massively appreciate that. Like and comment as well, and subscribe while you're at it.